The next concept which is elaborated is a very big, deep, and large concept, and that is the concept of controlling or mastering one's mind. This is the next quality. This quality of controlling and mastering one's mind is called Shama. Shama. S-H-A-M-A. Shama. In Tattva Bodh, it is simply given as Mano Nigraha. Mano Nigraha, which means to control the mind. Now, when we say control the mind, this brings a lot of sometimes, for some people, it brings tension. For some people, they get inspired. Some people are confused. Some people are exhausted by this concept of trying to control the mind. Yeah? So the first thing we should understand is, what exactly do we mean when we say controlling the mind? Okay? So mind here refers largely to our emotion. Our emotional personality is what we are calling as mind. Okay? In the BMI chart, mind is that which feels emotions. Why is it that this mind is the one that has to be controlled? Why isn't it the intellect that has to be controlled? Because in our day-to-day life and transaction, what we find is that it is our emotions which cause us the most difficulties and problems in life. Our thinking can as well, but our thinking doesn't cause us that many tangible problems on our day-to-day basis. Our emotions cause us the most tangible type of disturbances. Whether it's anger, whether it's fear, whether it's jealousy, whether it's frustration, whether it's sadness, depression, it's these emotions which really affect us moment to moment. Yeah? Behind them, there are belief patterns, there are thoughts behind them. Yeah? But to launch into changing them, that's a slightly different topic. Okay? It's a slightly different topic. So here what we're doing is we're just going to try to look at how to manage emotions at a simple day-to-day level. We're not going to go into an entire engine overhaul of our mind. That requires very deep introspection, and that requires a very concerted effort of changing fundamental belief patterns that exist. The process of knowledge, as we study the Shastras, the process of knowledge helps us to change those belief patterns. But here what we're discussing is a quality called Shama. And in Shama, we are looking at simple, practical methods to manage our emotions. Okay? Now, what's the problem with emotions? Why can't we have emotions? There is no problem with emotions. Emotions are not evil. Emotions are not bad. Because if you say that control and restrain emotions, some people say, I'm a very emotional person. I wear my heart on my sleeve. What's wrong with that, Swamiji? Why can't I wear my heart on your sleeve? Keep your heart in your chest cavity. That's where it's best served. Yeah? But what it means is, to control your emotions is two aspects. One, we all have a certain threshold. Everyone has a threshold, an emotional threshold. And the minute an emotion transgresses, goes beyond that threshold, it starts having a very negative impact upon what? Your thinking. So your thinking is from your intellect, your emoting is coming from your mind. And the minute emotions go beyond a threshold, all of a sudden they start disrupting your thinking. They disrupt your planning, they disrupt your goals, your clarity, and even your values and virtues. Strong emotions will allow us to actually transgress our virtues. That's when we start committing what's called adharma. So it's when emotion goes beyond a threshold that's problematic. Yeah? The other aspect of emotional management is it's not just about a deceleration. Because a lot of time when we say mind control, we always think it's about restraining. We think it's about curbing. We think it's about stopping. But controlling anything involves two aspects. One is the decelerator, and the other one is the accelerator. You should know when to decelerate and when to accelerate, which means real mastery of the mind is in knowing how to emote at the proper times. At a given time, how can you create the right mood, right atmosphere that this situation requires, that this person needs? So creating the right emotion, is also a part of mastery of mind. So one is a deceleration. My emotion should not go beyond a certain threshold. And the other one is acceleration. I should know how to cultivate certain positive qualities, positive emotions, and be able to use them in my day-to-day life. Yeah? Like a simple thing, if someone does something for you, like tomorrow Mother's Day is then. Now Mother's Day comes and your child gives you something. Generally when children give something to the mother, mothers do react very genuine. There's a lot of joy. There's a lot of love. But I've noticed sometimes, I won't say all the time, but I've noticed when partners do something for partners, then there's a bit of an element of suspicion as to why are you doing that? Well, why are you being so nice to me? Or breakfast in bed for me today because you want a 3-course meal for dinner tonight. Is that what's going on here? And many times there's elements of suspicion, right? And the poor partner who had poured their heart out that I want to do something for you, they finally do something. And what are they treated with? Suspicion. Why are you doing this? What's the motive behind it? Have you done something wrong? I think you've done something wrong. That's why. You taped over all my Master Chef programs with your basketball matches. And now to make up for it, you are giving me these roses. Yeah? And where did you buy these roses from? Our garden, next door neighbor's garden? Was it on sale outside Kohl's today? Is that where you got it from? Because I want to know all these things. So, you see, what happens is even when people treat us with genuine love and affection, sometimes we're not able to respond with that love. That means we haven't got mastery of our minds. We haven't got mastery of emotion, because if someone treats me with great love and affection, I should be able to reciprocate immediately. I should be able to acknowledge their love immediately. Yeah? And I should feel that in my heart as well. But sometimes when we're angry with someone, when we have a grievance with someone, then we find as much as they do for us, we just cannot overcome that. Yeah? That anger remains, and we still feel, nah, I cannot forgive you. I cannot tolerate this. So mastery of emotions involves two elements: restraining negative emotions from going beyond the threshold. Even positive emotions actually have to be also restrained. And then being able to generate the appropriate emotion as per the need of the situation. If the situation needs love, you try to give love. Some situations require you to be stern. You should be able to be stern. There are some people, they love giving affection, but they won't discipline others. So they love giving hugs, but they won't discipline when discipline is required. Both should be there. If you have to discipline someone, you should discipline them. That time you might need to be a bit more distant. Yeah. Sometimes you have to act courageously, and therefore you have to master fear. So, mastery of emotions involves acceleration, deceleration. Okay? Now, there's an endless amount of emotions out there that we can look at. And if I did that, that would just go on to the end of infinity and samsara. Just keep on going endlessly, the amount of emotions that are out there. So what I thought I would do to simplify it, is I'm going to look at specific emotions, which generally do come to our minds quite a lot. And actually, when I was thinking about this, then an acronym came to my mind, and I'm going to share with you this acronym. This acronym is called GRAF. G-R-A-F. Now, not graph as in G-R-A-P-H. That's how you generally spell graph when you do graph something out. All right? And whenever we have to graph something out, what does it mean? It means mark or measure what you have done. It's about measuring where you are. That's why we graph things out. Measuring our improvement or measuring our decline. So we use graphs to measure things. In the same way, let's graph our own mind. Measure your own mind. Okay? Why did we use GRAF? Because I just came up with a few things that are connected with those 4 letters. Okay? So we'll look at first the negative graph. What are some of the negative emotions which plague us? G, grievances. Grievances means complaints. It means frustrations. It means anger. You can use language like resentment. Yeah? But anything where you feel you are unjustly treated is a grievance. So that's what G stands for, grievance. R stands for regrets. We've all got some regrets in life, mistakes, things we look back upon and say, I wish I had not done that. A stands for apathy. Apathy means laziness. Yeah? Lack of interest, lack of motivation, what we call procrastination, putting things off. Yeah? Because that's another big aspect of our life, putting things off. Prior to COVID, we were all saying we didn't have enough time. And now COVID has come and said, now I'm going to bless you with plenty of time. And then now we realize, oh, okay, time's not the problem. Complete lack of motivation and interest is the problem. And when it was, I thought it was time, I thought it was time was the problem. Then I realized, actually, I have got no interest, motivation to do this. So I always told everyone, I want to get in shape. I want to go to the gym, but the children, I had to drive them here and there, and the work asked me of this and that, and all the housework. Now I've got plenty of time. Why don't you get in shape? Oh, Swami, it is raining outside today, because it's raining outside. Can't go outside. Not possible. You can do exercise in your house. No. Then how will I listen to your satsang? Okay, so various reasons why. It's called apathy. Laziness, that's the A. Last one, F, fear. Yeah, fears. Fears come in a variety of methods. Fears can be in the form of anxieties and stresses which plague the mind on a daily basis, or they can be deeper things called insecurities. Yeah, things you don't want others to know about you. Yeah, things you're a little bit ashamed to discuss in open. They're called insecurities. And that's why that's why a lot of pretension does come about, because we try to conceal insecurities. And that's why we use various techniques to conceal insecurities. And that's why our behavior is not transparent. Okay? So these 4 are there. And like I said, with these 4 grievances, if we look at anger, we don't need to discuss too much about anger. It's quite obvious what anger is. But it's anger, and especially anger turns into bitterness and turns into resentment in what's called long-term relationships. In long-term relationships, anger starts solidifying into what we call resentment, bitterness. In short-term relationships, you can get angry with a person, but it generally doesn't lead to bitterness because you don't have a continued relationship with that person. It's short-term. Yeah? So you experience anger, and then when that person is gone, after you just eat something nice or watch some TV or run it off, and then that mood just tends to go. But when bitterness is there, it tends to plague all aspects of your interaction and transacting with this person. And when you have a long-term relationship with that person, it becomes a bit harder. So it can build up over time and lead to major relationship rifts. Yeah, grievances. Regrets. As I said before, is when we look back at our life and we note that we made certain bad decisions, we acted badly, we conducted ourselves badly, we spoke badly, and then we look back at it now and we say, how could I have done that? Yeah, I really wish I had not done that. Yeah, so regrets. Apathy, I explained, is laziness, lack of motivation, lack of interest, lack of action, lack of execution. All this comes under apathy. Continuous planning for something which is never going to be executed. Sometimes people like to overplan. Overplanning is also a more intelligent form of procrastination. Some people, it just looks a lot smarter that you're still planning it out. Why don't you just do it? Rather than planning out your next 6 months of exercise. Start by going out for a walk today. But I said, Swami, it's raining. So you have a jacket with a hood now. Everything nowadays has got a hood. It's called hoodies. There is no garment which doesn't have a hood. So the entire clothing industry has worked so hard to ensure you can get out and go for that walk today. So honor the clothing industry by going for that walk and putting your hoodie on. But we will find various. So one is lack of interest, one is lack of motivation. The other one is distraction. Yeah, we just use distractions to procrastinate. And last element we talked about was fear. And fear, as I said, insecurity. Insecurity involves things that are very deep and personally connected to me. Insecurity is largely connected to how you define yourself. Whereas anxiety is connected a lot more to fear of loss. Losing something, which is more something you possess. Whereas insecurity has got to do with how you see yourself. So if I have to present in front of all my colleagues, and generally I've got a reputation of being very smart and competent, I can have a lot of fear because I'm very worried that now this group of people is going to perceive me as being incapable or incompetent. That comes down to my definition of me. Yeah? But anxieties can be things, they can be connected to things that we are possessed or connected to, such as I'm anxious about my child. Yeah, you won't be insecure about your child, you'll be anxious about your child and the child's welfare because the child is something that belongs to you. Yeah, the child is something that belongs to you. You'll be anxious about your wealth because wealth is something that you possess. But when it comes to your inherent definition, then about that we can be insecure. So it's a bit of a difference between these two types of fears. Insecurity doesn't plague us every day because insecurity doesn't get raised or exposed every day. You're not always being assessed every day. But every day there can be some threat of losing something which you already possess. Therefore, anxieties tend to plague us more on a daily basis rather than insecurities. Insecurities arise in specific situations where you are personally challenged. That's when they come out. Okay? So now we have got, this is our, what we might say, our negative graph. This is graphing out all the negative elements of my personality. Yeah? My grievances, regrets, apathy, and fear. And now, how do I manage them? Yeah, how do I manage each one? And that's why there's a positive graph. There's a positive graph which correlates to each one of that. And that is G stands for gratitude. Gratitude is the positive one for G. For R, it is respect. For A, it is aspiration, goal. And for F, it is faith. Actually, I developed slides on this. Let me see if I can pull them up. So that's your positive graph there. Your positive graph is made out of gratitude, respect, aspiration, and faith. Yeah? The negative one, grievances, regret, apathy, and fear. Okay? Now, we'll look at the positive ones. Because here what we're going to do is we're going to use the positive emotion to manage the negative emotion. This is how we're going to practice mastery of mind, using a positive emotion to manage the negative one. So gratitude, what is gratitude? A feeling of thankfulness. But gratitude involves acknowledgement. Acknowledgement of what someone else has done for you. In Sanskrit, there's a beautiful word for gratitude. It's called kritagnyata. Kritagnyata. Krita means done. Nyata, nyaha, means to know. To know what has been done for you. That's what kritagnyata means. Our Guruji has actually composed 9 verses called Kritagnyata on Gurudev, outlining all the things that he did for us. Yeah? Our Samasta Jana Kalyane Nirtam Karunamayam is the first verse of 9 verses actually on that poem. It's called Kritagnyata. So Kritagnyata means acknowledging what others have done for me. It's called gratitude. Now we've all heard about gratitude. We've all watched videos on gratitude. It's everywhere. Have a gratitude journal, a gratitude diary, all these things. But there's a subtle element to gratitude which I'll tell you about. And that is, gratitude is not just in the mere acknowledgement of what people have done. You also have to start recognizing how much effort they have put in. Yeah? So one level of gratitude is just, what has a person done for me? Yeah? The second level is, how much effort did it require for them to do that for me? Yeah. Now, very obvious example. Say you have got 2 children. One is a teenager, 12-year-old or 13-year-old, and the other one is 5 years old. Yeah? And the 5-year-old, when they make you a card on Mother's Day, yeah, you're going to expect that the handwriting is messy. You're going to expect that there's no rulers that have been used. You're going to expect a lot of freestyle squiggles all over the place with different colors, glitter, all this type of thing. Nothing matches. Aesthetically, maybe not that pleasing. But that 5-year-old child may have taken 2 hours to make this simple card for you. Now, if your 13-year-old comes up with exactly the same card, you're probably going to be a little less appreciative of that effort, because for a 13-year-old to create that card, which is a bunch of squiggles in different texture colors with glitter strewn all over the place, yeah, then you're going to say it probably took them about 3 to 5 minutes to do that. So when I look at the 13-year-old who produces this, and I look at a 5-year-old who produces this, my feelings of appreciation are very different, even though the task is the same. The task that is completed is exactly the same. But why my appreciation is different is because the level of effort required is so different. For the 5-year-old, it was 2 to 3 hours of work. versus the 13-year-old who took 2 to 3 minutes. And therefore, my feelings of appreciation and gratitude are vastly different. And this is very important when we are dealing not so much with children, but when we are dealing with people our own age, especially our partners. That a lot of time what happens is we are able to complete certain tasks with very little effort because we have a thing called aptitude or skill. And when I am skilled at something, it means the amount of effort I need to put in is much less, and I can generate a good result. Now, what happens is when you deal with adults your same age, your peers, we all make the assumption that everyone has got the same level as skill as I do. And because of this assumption, what takes me 10 minutes to do becomes extremely frustrating to watch another person take 1 hour to do. And you end up becoming angry and frustrated with that individual when it takes you 10 minutes and it takes them 1 hour. For the person who's got no skill, they are going to require a lot more effort to achieve the same result you can achieve. Because they lack skill, they lack aptitude, they lack training. And so what happens is when we base gratitude on tasks, things that have been done for us, a lot of the times we can miss the element of effort. And it's when you miss that element of effort, you don't become convinced this person really has worked hard. And therefore, feelings of gratitude do not genuinely rise out of your heart. It becomes mere namesake that I have written down things I'm grateful for, but I don't feel it. Yeah. When you start seeing, recognizing deeply the amount of effort and pain an individual has gone through in order to perform a certain task, it opens your heart up naturally. Your heart just expands. It empathizes with that person deeply. And you realize this person worked extremely hard in order to do this small task for me. But if I had to do it, it's a 5-minute job. But if they have to do it, it's a 1-hour job. Yeah. The classic example is obviously cooking, right? There are some people that are skilled, they are trained in cooking, they know how to cook. Yeah. So for them to prepare a meal for the entire family, half an hour. They can pull the whole thing together in half an hour. Then on that day, they're exhausted, they're tired. Okay, their partner takes it up with a lot of coercion. Yeah. And with all this coercion and prompting, I'm giving it a very nice name, prompting, coercion, and inspiration. Forceful inspiration. I'm not calling it nagging, okay? So it's called forceful inspiration. They take up the task of cooking. But you find this person has not done any cooking in their life. They don't even know what a cucumber is. They don't know the difference between cucumber and zucchini. They don't know. Cucumber and carrot, they don't know. Right? And let alone do they know that a carrot takes longer than cook than a cucumber because it's so thick. And so all of a sudden they've cut their vegetables. That itself has taken 45 minutes to figure out which vegetable to cut in which way. They forgot to wash it. They didn't peel half of them. So after cutting, now they are individually peeling every slice. It's a colossal amount of work which is done because they've done the whole thing wrong. Then they wash it and toss the entire thing at the same time into the sambar. And when you toss all the vegetables at one time into the sambar, then you're going to come out with some vegetables that are undercooked, some vegetables that are overcooked. The final result, it's a sambar which no one can eat. Yeah, this is the result. Now that person has spent 1.5 hours preparing this sambar, which finally no one on the table wants to look at, no one wants to eat, no one wants to be a part of, and everyone is looking up fast food directories and Uber Eats. That's what everyone is on the phone thinking, how do we get Uber Eats and how long will it take? Now this poor person who has done 90 minutes of work to create a sambar, which it can be eaten but no one wants to, versus the other person who can do it in 25 minutes, you have to understand the extra 1 hour of effort, that has to be acknowledged because of the fact this person has extremely low skill level. Yeah? So because they have such low skill level, the effort that is given has to be acknowledged and not just the final result. And that's why sometimes we just acknowledge results and we say, I cook 5 days a week, why can't you cook 2? How hard is it? We say, I know how to manage finances and manage my credit cards and watch my spending. Why can't you do that? And it's because we got different skills. And even in a house, to run a house, people have to have different skills. You can't all have the same skills. It's not possible. Yeah? In any community, for a community to flourish, variety is needed. And variety means people have to bring different skills to the table. And when you bring different skills to the table, your level of effort is vastly different. Vastly different. Yeah? Now, for me to give this class, it's not that difficult because I've got 16 years of training in doing a class. If right now I flip onto one of the students and say, now one of the students will now conclude the rest of this class, everyone is going to log off as soon as they can. As soon as you can, you're going to be leaving this right now because I will be terrified to explain the rest of this class, Swamiji. No, thank you. Yeah? And I'll say it's so easy. It's so easy to do this. It took me like half an hour to prepare this class. Come on, it'll be very easy. I said, no, Swamiji, for me to take a class, I'll need 7 days. I'll need to consult you 4 of those days, and then you need to dictate things and I'll write them down, and then eventually I'll just say what you have to say. It'll be a lot of work, because skill level is vastly different. Yeah? If you ask me to cook anything, it's going to be a 7-day program, and what comes out will be worse than that sambar that I just described before. I can guarantee you that. I have absolutely no skill whatsoever in cooking. But it works extremely well for my profession because I'm a bhikshu, and so I'm supposed to be begging for food anyway. So for my dharma, it's all worked out quite well. Now, this is an important element of gratitude, that with regards to gratitude, there's one which is in a level of acknowledging what has been done. The next is a level of acknowledging how much effort it took for that person to do that. Okay? And this is really important because there are 2 generations of people which we never see effort from. One is our peers. We never see the effort that our peers put into achieving their success because it's hidden. And the other one is our parents. We never see the level of effort that our parents have put into creating the lives that they have for us. You generally see the level of effort your children have given because you're generally around them, you support them. But with peers and parents, effort is many times lost. And that's why, if you look at it, who do we have a lot of grievances with? We have a lot of grievances with peers, with spouses, and with parents. And when we talk about parents, we say, yes, I know they gave me a good education. Yes, I know they paid for bills. Yes. We say it with such a lack of sincerity and enthusiasm because we don't recognize the amount of effort that it took. If your parents migrated, the amount of effort it takes to migrate, the amount of stress it caused them, the social isolation, the potential racial vilification, the loss of job opportunities, job standing, all those things children will never understand. They can't see that. And so they just sit there and say, when I wanted a pair of Air Jordans, you didn't get it for me and therefore I'm upset. Yeah? You didn't get me the latest iPhone, you didn't get me the latest thing. I always had to have hand-me-downs. Yeah? And so we get upset over very trivial things because we cannot recognize effort. And that's why many people tell me only when they become parents then you actually start generating some level of empathy and gratitude towards your actual parent, because you realize how hard it is to raise a child. So towards our parents, it really requires us to really explore how much effort was required. This is how you can bring forth more heartfelt gratitude. When you have heartfelt gratitude, it immediately kills anger. Gratitude doesn't even manage anger, it actually destroys anger. It's a very different element. Yeah? There are a lot of anger management strategies, and in anger management strategies, the cause of anger is still there. The cause of anger is desire, expectation. When you have heartfelt gratitude for a person, you actually reduce your expectations on that person, because you start realizing and thinking, how much more can I take from this person? How much more can I demand from this person? And it almost seems completely unreasonable. And therefore, your desire evaporates. And desire is the cause of anger. That's why gratitude doesn't just manage anger, it actually kills the very cause of anger. But that gratitude has to be heartfelt, and it has to come from a space where you truly acknowledge their effort that they put forth and not just the tasks which they did. Yeah? So this is how we said negative graph, positive graph. The first element we talked about was grievance and then gratitude. Gratitude is the antidote to grievance. Each one on the task is going to be, on that chart, is going to be the antidote to the other one. So gratitude is the antidote towards grievance, okay? And I think this week, it would be a very interesting exercise, but to take a relationship where you have some grievances, where you feel there is some resentment, anger, and explore it truly from the standpoint of gratitude, and now look into not just gratitude from the standpoint of things done, but from the standpoint of effort put forth. How much effort was put forth? How much stress was experienced by that person? How difficult it was for that person to be able to do that thing for you. Yeah? If you know a person who's very unemotional or not very emotionally intelligent, not very well connected emotionally, doesn't know how to express themselves, for them to say, I love you, is almost like climbing Mount Everest. Yeah? And sometimes we have one parent that smothers us with open affection, and we have another parent that's very icy cold. And sometimes that's because the icy cold parent actually doesn't know how to emote. Yeah? And so sometimes it's just one word of, I love you, and that might be all you get for 20 years. But that I love you for 20 years could be them climbing Mount Everest. Whereas the other parent was hugging you every 3 minutes and kissing you on the cheek. Yeah? And so it's really acknowledging how much of a Mount Everest each person in your life has climbed in order to contribute to your life. And that's what we're trying to really get connected with. As you connect with this, then what happens is you tap into a very heartfelt gratitude. And a heartfelt gratitude destroys anger. Your expectations on that person just dissolve. And you become freed. You become freed of that grievance. Yeah, become freed of that grievance in that relationship. Okay, so we'll look at that for today. Next week, we'll look at the other three components: respect, aspiration, and faith. Okay, this is all coming under the heading of Shama, mastering one's mind. Okay, that's it. Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamadachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.